Hey everybody, Spencer here from ConstructorCriticism.com, host of Constructor Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic. So, a couple weeks ago, I talked with some people about starting a YouTube video blog about kind of just like what's going on in Constructor Criticism world and things like that. So, like keeping people updated on like what the site's doing and things like that, and then kind of like mine, Casey's, and Manny's personal lives, or like our Magic personal lives. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And so it took me a while to like think, well, how do I want to do this? What are some of the things that I want to do? And so first thing that I want to do is come up with a name because I'm weird like that. And like, I think that the reason I launched Limited Time Only was because I was like, well, this is the best name for a limited podcast. I have to do it. Constructive Criticism, same thing. That's obviously the best name for a podcast. The video blog wasn't so easy because I feel like I wanted it to be personal. And so the thing that is like pretty personal to me in Magic is Wednesday nights. So the video series will be called Wednesday Night Warrior. That's kind of like where it kind of all started for me. So back in the day, like back in ancient Magic times, Wednesday nights were kind of like the night to play Magic in Utah. We'd all go to Game Den at the Valley Fair Mall, and we would play Standard. And by everybody, I mean like literally everyone. Like there were like 40 people there, which back then, like 5 years ago, that was a huge tournament. And it was a lot of people, like people that have qualified for the Pro Tour multiple times. Shadi Badran, Eric Centauri, Brian Hawley, who now like is one of the designers or developers of like the next like 3 sets of Magic that are all going to be released. Shadows over Innistrad, the one after Shadows over Innistrad, Eternal Masters, like he's on the design team for all of those. And these guys were all playing at Game Den, and they sparked my want for always improving. And eventually, I decided that I wanted to go to college, and there was a local store downtown at near the college that I was going to, called Oasis Games, and they were closed on Wednesdays. And I said, hey, to the owner of the store, I said, hey, I could get probably like 8 to 10 people to show up every Wednesday if you want to run Wednesday Night Standard. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And so we moved Wednesday to there, and I've just been playing Magic on Wednesdays basically for 5 years, and now Wednesday nights are like a huge thing for me. The Oasis Games does a box to everybody who goes 4-0 on Wednesday nights, and so oftentimes I'll walk out of there with like $50 store credit from splitting, and it really helps you build your Magic collection, things like that. And it's where like a lot of the really good Magic players play Magic is just Wednesday nights. It has always been that way in Utah. So welcome to Wednesday Night Warriors. So basically on this, I will be talking about constructive criticism, what we're doing, what decks I'm playing, what decks other people are playing. Maybe I'll have people from our testing team come on and talk about the things that they're doing. If they like win a PPTQ or something like that, it'll be pretty fun. But most of the time will just be me talking about whatever I want to talk about. This week, I'm pretty passionate about Jedi Jund. So Jedi Jund is, or Mardu Green as a lot of people call it, is a deck that I played. I played back in the day with Disciple of Bolas and things like that. Without my other fails, I actually lost on to VD. He's multiple time GP top 8 competitor and Grand Prix champion on camera with the deck. Way back in the day, it was like a borderline range deck. It was really sweet. And so I kind of fell in love with the archetype back then. And Quentin Pierce, former co-host of Constructive Criticism, just won a PPTQ with this deck. And I have been tuning it and like finding the things I like. So I kind of want to just talk about that today. And yeah, let's kind of go over what I'm doing. So here's the deck list. If you can't see it very well, you do have to be on pretty high res to be able to view the deck list on screen. But the deck list will still be in the show notes. If you want to check it out, you'll still be able to see the cards as I talk about them. So first up, we have 2 Goblin Dark-Dwellers. This is something that I've debated whether it should be a 2 or 3 of. It's a huge part of the deck. Goblin Dark-Dwellers is a 4/4 with Menace that when it enters the battlefield, you can cast a instant sorcery card from your graveyard that costs 3 or less, and cast it without paying its mana cost. So oftentimes this will be a 4/4 with a murderous, or not a murderous cut, that actually doesn't work. Something like a fiery impulse or a roast or a duress attached to it, which is pretty good. All of those situations usually end up for this being a 2-for-1, with part of it being a 4/4 body left behind. Next up we have 2 Kalitas Trader of Ghet. This card has been actually like one of the best Magic cards I played with in a very long time in testing. Even today in testing with Matt Kling, be another video that goes up on the show on the channel. It just does too many things. It's too good. And it being a 2 in this deck probably deserves another slot in the sideboard if I had room. But yeah, the card's just great. It's a 3/4 lifelink. If a non-creature token would die that your opponent controls, you exile it instead, so it like stops rally creatures from dying in rally, and then you put a 2/2 zombie into play. And you can also sacrifice those zombies to put 2 counters onto this card for a black and 2. And you think that would basically never matter, but it actually just matters way, way often. Like, it just screws with combat so much. Because like you can start attacking with the zombies, and if they block them, you can stack them to this. You can start attacking with this, and if they if they block the zombie, you stack the zombie to this, and it like becomes a freaking 5/6, and that's huge. The card is actually just great. I'm obviously really excited about it. I think the card is just good. Next up, we have 4 Siege Rhinos. I don't need to tell you about Siege Rhino. You know all about Siege Rhino. Basically one of the huge reasons for playing white. You would think that like Crackling Doom is the reason for playing white in this deck, but I actually just think Siege Rhino is basically the only reason that you're not just Jund, because that's how good Siege Rhino is. 2 Soulfire Grandmaster. I played versions of this deck with 3, 0. I found that I did want 2. Just is another 2-drop that you get to play rather than playing something like Hangerback Walker, because this just gives you longevity, and life gain is pretty important in this standard format, and it's one of the great ways to get it with things like roast and fiery impulse. So next up we have actually like probably one of the most underrated cards in standard, and that's Sylvan Advocate. It's basically been great in every deck I tried it in. Getting to 6 lands is something you already want to do in this deck, and then having things like 4 Shambling Vent means that this just gets to make your Shambling Vents huge too. And as if you watch the testing video with me and Matt Kling this week, it's just really good. It's a card that you don't hate playing on turn 2 because it's bigger than like everything in mono red. They have a really hard time killing it early in the game, and then late game it's just a freaking Tarmogoyf that makes your manlands better, and also that happens to be really good. Card has just been insane, and it has vigilance. I don't know why it's a Tarmogoyf with vigilance. Next up we have 3 Abzan Charm. Not really a ton to say. Like, Abzan Charm is been one of the better cards in standard for as long as it's been here. The modes of exiling a giant creature, drawing 2 cards, or distributing 1/1 counters give you tons of 2-for-1 potential because, well, you can just draw 2 cards, as well as just being good removal against things like Kolaghan Stormfury. So pretty important there. 2 Crackling Doom. We'll get into why this is 2 later, but it's pretty good against things like Ojutai and big creatures, as well as having some life gain with your Soulfire Grandmaster, or just getting pesky things out of the way. 1 Dromoka's Command. This has been a Murderous Cut. This has been a Crackling Doom. This has been an Abzan Charm. Right now it's in Dromoka's Command. I've been pretty happy with it. It gives you something to sideboard out when Dromoka's Command is bad, and people kind of underrate how often having cards in your deck that you're kind of okay with sideboarding out in a few matchups that are like pretty good game 1 when they're not playing around them. And I think Dromoka's Command kind of falls under that right now, whereas people just aren't playing a ton of them, so you get value out of having it, and then it is something that you can sideboard out, and if it's like really good in a matchup, then you have it. So I don't know, I've been pretty happy with it. I could see it being a cut or a roast or a painful truce. Like, I can see it being a lot of things, but right now I'm pretty happy with it being a Dromoka's Command. 4 Fiery Impulse. This is, this card went from, I thought this card was bad, to being one of the better cards on standard because of Mantis Strider, to now being almost necessary. Like, I think that Fiery Impulse, I I know people are like playing 4 Fire Impulse and 3 Wild Slashes in their red decks. And that just kind of goes to show you how important it is to be able to deal 3 damage rather than 2. Because basically the only things that you're killing are mono red creatures and Jace with 2. And then this goes to Sylvan Advocate, Mantis Rider, just kind of real things. So, also the fact that it still kills Jace is pretty important. 1 Kolaghan's command. So a few things. I love this card. I think that it is great. If there were no Goblin Dark-Dwellers in this deck, this would just be a den protector. But because you can get back your Goblin Dark-Dwellers and your Siege Rhinos and your Soulfire Grandmasters, and also you can just kill something and make them discard a card. Like, the card just does a lot of things. But like I said, if I wasn't playing Goblin Dark-Dwellers, I think it would actually just be a den protector. 2 Mardu Charm. All right. So I've had interesting conversations about this card. The most common thing is, I don't like this card. It doesn't kill enough stuff. Okay, so it doesn't kill Siege Rhino, and it doesn't kill Tessiger, and that's about it. Like, I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me all the other things it doesn't kill in Standard, but like that's kind of basically it. This card has been amazing. It turns on. It's actually the reason that I'm not playing for Crackling Doom. Is Crackling Doom just was kind of not good enough. This makes it so that I can have 6 power worth of stats off my Goblin Dark-Dwellers, or I can attach another Flame Slash to it, or I can attach another discard spell to it. It gives my Goblin Dark-Dwellers modes, while also being instant speed removal for like the majority of the format, giving me 2-for-1 potential that I desperately want against red decks. The first strike is super relevant off of the tokens when you're playing against mono red, because oftentimes like they'll be attacking with some X1s. And one of the main things that you'll see is when people are attacking you with tokens in a deck like this, you have to devote a lot of resources to killing those 1/1s. And this gives you the option to devote less resources to that. So a Dragon Fodder isn't as big of a deal and isn't as good against you because you have something like this. Which you would think is like, oh, you're just getting 1/1s, but it's like, but if I kill their 1/1s that they are attacking with, and then kill another thing with the tokens that I have left over, that's a huge deal against mono red or any kind of token deck. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with it. We have 1 Murderous Cut, 26 lands. The important ones to note are 4 Shambling Vents. We only have 1 of every basic. I know that there are times where you either might want 2 mountains. Right now I have a Nomad Outpost in that slot, and it's because I didn't want the 27th land. So I'm not playing it. But 12 fetch land mana base, you have to make some sacrifices, and I've been really happy with 26. So Chandra Flamecaller has been basically one of the best cards I've tested. We did a Grixis video, was basically the reason that I played Grixis. Been super impressed with Chandra. All of her abilities have been really good. I don't know, like this deck has been like, I played a lot with this deck. I got to put more stats into our team flat folder, like with the amount that I've been playing with this deck. But just been super impressed with her. Obviously, when she comes down, she can't kill a Siege Rhino. Not everyone's playing Siege Rhino right now. Surprise! And it kills a lot of things. And you get to have a lot of your things left over. If you have a Siege Rhino and a Goblin Dark-Dwellers, or a Siege Rhino and a Traitor of Ghet in play, and you like bring her down -3, you have a Chandra left over, and like all of this value, she's been great. And so many times I have played her, and my opponent's like, 6 haste damage, you still have a Chandra left over if I don't block, because like a lot of times they have to block the 3/1s, lose some of their guys, then they can't attack Chandra back. She's just been great. 1 Duress, I've seen a lot of lists that play 2. I am playing Mardu Charms. One of the reasons that means that I can actually cut Duresses. Pretty cool. 1 Painful Truths. This number has fluctuated. The list actually started off with 1 Painful Truths and 1 Read the Bones. Read the Bones just wasn't good enough. Abzan Charm just filled that role so much better. So for that reason, just not playing any more Painful, just only playing the 1 Painful Truths. This list also started off, I think, with 4 Roasts. Down to 2. Just had to make room for other things that I found important in the deck. But Roast has been like overperforming in the standard format. Red Black Dragons is a deck, and then control decks are decks. But they're about the only thing that Roast isn't good against right now, and you really want things that can kill Kalitas or activated the Sacrifice Cat that gives things +2/+2. Spacing it right now. But you really want cards that deal with that, and Roast is just really efficient and does a great job of it. We have sideboard, we have 2 Outpost Siege, 2 Silk Wrap, 1 Virulent Plague, 3 Hallowed Moonlight, 1 Murderous Cut, 1 Ob Nixilis, 1 Duress, 1 Infinite Obliteration, and 3 Radiant Flames. Honestly, this sideboard's been pretty good for me. There's tons of things that I've like tried in and out. Right now, this is the configuration that I'd run. I might run this Wednesday at Oasis. I'm actually thinking of playing a Tarka Red right now. But if you're looking for like a deck that gives you a ton of options and has a ton of play to it, and actually it's just really fun, I would give this deck a try. Try it on Moto. Let me know what you think. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of where I'm at in Magic right now. Is on these 4-color mid-range 12 fetch line decks. I think that they have the most power behind them, and also they have a ton of play. The number of times that somebody is like, oh, I lost because I got color screwed, and I'm like, well, you also just fetched incorrectly as a lot in the standard format. So you really need to fetch correctly and like make meaningful decisions early, because they can really affect you later in the game. And these 4-color mid-range decks let you play really strong Magic cards like Siege Rhino. I get to play Siege Rhino and Chandra in the same deck, and that's a huge deal. So that's it for the first Wednesday Night Warrior. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you guys next time, where I'll talk about something else. Thanks, guys.